Just the way the people news. Never look straight forward, always look around you, be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Think outside the box, people. Okay? Thou shalt not lie. Not by you shall lie to get bad guys.
Woe to ye lawyers, how Jesus condemned legalism and hypocrisy in defense of truth and justice, abstract. In his earthly ministry, Jesus reserved some of his sharpest rebukes for lawyers, experts in Mosaic law, who wielded their knowledge to burden others while exempting themselves. In Luke 11:46-52, Jesus declared, "Woe to you lawyers," exposing their hypocrisy, legalism, and corruption. His critique was not an attack on law itself, but on its misuse as a tool for oppression rather than justice. This article explores Jesus' condemnation of the lawyers of his time, drawing parallels to modern legal systems that prioritize form over substance, rules over righteousness, and power over principle. Introduction. The law at its heart is meant to uphold justice, protect the innocent, and restrain evil. Yet, as Jesus observed, those entrusted with the law often distort it for personal gain and social control. In the first century, lawyers, interpreters, and enforcers of Mosaic law had become gatekeepers, creating intricate legal frameworks that made righteousness unattainable for the average person, while they themselves avoided accountability. Jesus' rebuke of the lawyers is a timeless warning against legal systems and practitioners that prioritize technicalities over truth and power over principle. His words, spoken with divine authority, expose the dangers of legalism and call for a return to justice rooted in mercy and truth. Woe to you lawyers, understanding the rebuke. In Luke 11:46-52, Jesus pronounces 6 woes on the Pharisees and lawyers, condemning their hypocrisy and the oppressive systems they upheld. These woes reveal the core failures of legalism and the spiritual harm it inflicts. 1. Burdening the people. Luke 11:46. Woe to you lawyers also, for you load people with burdens hard to bear, and you yourselves do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers. The lawyers of Jesus' time created an elaborate system of rules and rituals, demanding strict adherence while offering no assistance to those struggling under the weight of these burdens. By prioritizing their interpretations of the law over the well-being of the people, they turned the law into a tool of oppression. Modern parallels. Today, excessive bureaucracy, convoluted legal codes, and systems designed to benefit the privileged mirror the practices Jesus condemned. Laws meant to protect often become inaccessible to those without the means to navigate them, perpetuating cycles of inequality. 2. Honoring the prophets while rejecting their message. Luke 11:47-48. Woe to you, for you build the tombs of the prophets whom your fathers killed. So you are witnesses, and you consent to the deeds of your fathers, for they killed them, and you build their tombs. The lawyers outwardly honored the prophets while perpetuating the same injustices that the prophets condemned. Their hypocrisy was a form of historical revisionism, erasing their complicity in the very systems of oppression that silence God's messengers. Modern parallels. Celebrating civil rights leaders while ignoring ongoing injustices or using their legacy for political gain reflects the same duplicity. Honoring principles in name while rejecting them in practice perpetuates systemic hypocrisy. 3. Taking away the key of knowledge. Luke 11:52. Woe to you lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You did not enter yourselves, and you hindered those who were entering. The lawyers, instead of making God's truth accessible, obscured it with endless legal minutiae. Their legalism created barriers to understanding, keeping people from encountering the transformative power of God's word. Modern parallels. When legal systems or institutions obscure justice behind complexity, they deny people access to truth. This includes exploiting loopholes, using jargon to confuse, or creating systems designed to exclude rather than empower. The dangers of legalism. 1. Legalism replaces justice with ritual. Legalism prioritizes adherence to rules over the spirit of the law. Jesus repeatedly emphasized that the law is fulfilled in love for God and neighbor. Matthew 22:36-40. Legalism, however, reduces righteousness to a checklist, ignoring the weightier matters of justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Matthew 23:23. 2. Legalism breeds hypocrisy. By focusing on outward conformity, legalism fosters hypocrisy. The lawyers of Jesus' time were adept at appearing righteous while manipulating the law for personal gain. Jesus exposed this duplicity, declaring that their righteousness was a facade hiding corruption. 3. Legalism excludes the vulnerable. Legalism creates systems that are inaccessible to the poor, the uneducated, and the marginalized. It weaponizes knowledge, using it as a tool for exclusion rather than inclusion. Jesus' ministry, in contrast, was marked by his invitation to all, particularly those excluded by the legalists. Lessons from Jesus Rebuke 1. Prioritize justice over procedure. Laws and procedures are only as righteous as their outcomes. Systems of justice must prioritize fairness, mercy, and the protection of the vulnerable over rigid adherence to technicalities. 2. Simplify access to truth. Just as Jesus condemned the lawyers for obscuring God's truth, modern legal systems and institutions must strive for transparency and accessibility. Justice should be clear and attainable, not hidden behind a wall of complexity. 3. Hold leaders accountable. Jesus' rebuke of the lawyers reminds us that those in positions of authority bear a greater responsibility. Leaders and practitioners of the law must ensure that their actions align with the principles of justice they claim to uphold. Conclusion. Woe to you, lawyers, is not merely a historical rebuke. It is a timeless call to examine how law is practiced and whether it aligns with its divine purpose. To uphold justice, protect the vulnerable, and reflect God's truth. Legal systems then and now face the constant temptation to prioritize power, complexity, and appearance over the substance of righteousness. As we reflect on the words of Jesus, let us remember that true justice is not found in technicalities, but in mercy, love, and truth. Lawyers, judges, and all who wield the law are called to a higher standard, to act as stewards of justice, not gatekeepers of oppression. In the words of Micah 6:8, he has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God.
This We the People News. Till next time.